What is going on, everybody? Welcome, one and all, to another edition of Wrestling with Whiskey Weekly. I am your host, the douchebag who tells you what to drink, but drink whatever the hell you want. That guy. No, I hope you are all fantastic. Another lovely Wednesday evening with each and every one of you. And we've got some very interesting stuff to try out today. What's going on? Victor is in the chat. Wes is here. Scorp is in the house. Scorp, thank you for being a member as always. Devin, what's going on? Welcome in, everybody. Like I always say, if you are in the chat, when you come in, let me know what you're drinking tonight. I don't have a warm-up glass in front of me. I probably should. Otherwise, that's just not cool, right? One of these days, I'm going to get a damn secondary webcam so I can just put that in front of the whiskey shelf, and I'm going to have chat. I'm going to have the audience pick what my what my warm-up whiskey is, because you guys know better than I what I should drink. I'm just telling you that much. Eric in the house as well. Lutra is here. Lutra, thank you for being a member as well. You guys are fantastic. Simply fantastic. But yeah, we got a couple of things to try tonight. We're also going to look at, because I completely forgot that they came out, the San Francisco Spirits competition. The competition everybody loves to hate because it causes it's like a magic trick. San Francisco comes out with results, bottles disappear. It's like a whole thing. But there's some interesting results here. So we'll go through some of them. The whiskey ones, of course, but even outside some of the whiskey. We'll take a look at a little bit of the rum, the mezcal, because we had a little bit of that. There are 2 bottles above the Knob Creek, Drez. I got a regular single barrel and a single barrel barrel proof. As much as I want the barrel proof, I don't think that's a good palate warmer. So maybe I will. Maybe I'll go with the standard single barrel. It's a nice, easy sipper. Could also go, yeah, that's a good one. We'll go with that one for tonight. There's 2 Knob Creeks there, Drez. It's okay. I know, math is hard. For anybody watching, don't worry, Drez and I have a history. I'm not just making fun of a stranger in my chat. You tried some Sunday and it was awful? What? Oh, that's right. You opened up that bottle, Scorpion. Oh, man. I'm sorry, it was a bad one. The one I had last week was pretty good. This is this is a non-store pick. This was just a standard single barrel Jack Daniels. So, yeah. This will be a little bit of my palate warmer. But Scorp, you got, 4 Roses. 4 Roses single barrel, 100 proof standard single barrel, or a single barrel pick? Cheers to all of you. I haven't had this in a hot second. No, I have not. Telling you, the Jack Daniel's single barrel program is fantastic. Truly is. And you know what? Before we get into it, speaking of fantastic, you can always join. And speaking of, Wes is having the Wrestling with Whiskey Woodinville pick that we did right here live on this show. And if you want to do something like that, you can join us at Patreon. The Barrel Club, we don't have any picks coming up directly, but I am in the process of talking to New Riff about doing another quarter barrel pick with them. Oh my goodness gracious. Those are always incredible. I've always had incredible results there. The guys and gals, whoever were with us on the last one, they've been there, and they understand how good New Riff can be, especially the single barrels. It's such a fun experience. They've got a great staff there. So if we do another one of those, you get to be a part of it. And if not, you get to be part of the Discord. You get early access to YouTube videos. You get a chance to ask questions to our straight shooting guests as I send whiskey off to the wrestlers who don't really want to drink whiskey. Surprisingly, right? And you can ask them some questions. But if you are on our social media sipping tier, you will also be on the show because every month, starting this month on the, I believe it's 2 weeks from now, we are going to have live, we're going to call it the Wrestling with Whiskey Fatal 4-Way. Me and 3 of our members will be on here grinding gears about what's pissing us off in wrestling this month. And so here's a couple of those patrons who will have the chance to do that, be part of our pool of personalities, if you will. Thank you so much to all of them. And if you want your name up here and to be part of one of those roundtables, you can join us right there. It's so much fun. And like I said, I'm getting my Wrestling with Whiskey Mania pick, the one I started doing with Greg Hamilton and everything, hopefully this week, maybe next week, if we can find a time to meet up. So that's going to be good as well. And then, yeah, I'm going to work on getting another pick for us, maybe end of summer or something like that. Hopefully the distillery will be a little bit more open. We can have like a full tour because they could only do partial things. Maybe we can actually pick the barrel, like go around and look at the barrels. That was one of the things that we couldn't do the last time. So yeah, I love picking barrels. And New Riff is one of my favorite. But before we go, cheers everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for joining me once again. Before we get into some gripes about San Francisco. Solid. Jack Daniels, single barrels. Solid. Even that's just off the shelf, man. And Scorpion, you have the standard single barrel. Man, standard single barrel, 4 Roses, 100 proof, is really good. And it's widely available, especially as the store picks are less and less and less, and also more and more expensive. They're getting close to that $80, $90 mark in some places. And if you're secondary, they're over 100 for some of them. So but the regular single barrel is a great daily sipper and like a high quality one. So absolutely. Daria Chick, what's going on? Welcome into the stream. Welcome into the show. What's the one whiskey you can't be without? That's a tough question. For me, trying to think, probably something like 100 proof. Maybe like 110. Man, if there was one, I'm looking at my shelf right now. Chat, good question for you as well. One whiskey you can't live without. Out of your collections, out of your vaults. You know, if David from Whiskey in My Wedding Ring comes in here, I'm convinced that man is either moving bottles in and out of his back door like some crook in the 1920s, or he's got an entire condo just for the whiskey he gets in mail calls every single week. Oh my goodness gracious. The one whiskey I couldn't live without, probably, honestly, Old Forester 1920. That is just, it is just solid across the board. Or, honestly, Wild Turkey 101 would be the other one. So, Daria Chick, this isn't even mine. I mean, it is mine, but that's like 1/20th of my collection. Ooh, Victor with the Russell's 10. Yeah, that was just in my video too. Russell's 10's another good one. 10 years. That's another one. Scorpion going with kind of an old school. That's kind of a lot of people's intro to whiskey. Jameson. Just regular old Jameson. Wow. Of all the choices. Of all the whiskey joints in all the world, you'd go back to the Jameson. I give you a lot of respect for that. I feel like Jameson, that is my own one whiskey. Like everyone has that one where it's like, oh, like wait, it's Wild Turkey or whatever. Has that one whiskey where it's like, ooh, bad college memories, bad early 20s memories. For me, that's Jameson. Going out in Tampa when I was first signed to FCW and first wrestling in WWE developmental, we would go out to South Howard Street, which is kind of like this hip bar district in southern Tampa. And we would go to this bar called McDinton's. Typical Irish bar, big outdoor area. That's where a lot of the boys started their nights and stuff. My go-to beverages were, I would get a Corona with a lime and a shot, maybe two of Jameson, shoot, chase, etc. And then I would just nurse the Corona for the next 2 hours. So Irish whiskey and then Mexican cerveza. Weird combo, I know, but I felt like I had to drink Irish whiskey because I was Irish, and then I was about to say Modelo. No, the Corona, because it was like light and the lime made it kind of sweet, so I liked it. Evan Williams Bottle and Bond Freak is good too. Devin, it's a good one. And if that was the only whiskey you could have a ton of it because it's cheap as hell. It's a good choice though. Absolutely. All right. Let's get into San Francisco before we taste our bourbons. So, 2021 San Francisco Spirits Competition, the world-renowned spirits competition, finally had the results. And this is, like I said in the intro, man, this is the one that it's probably got the most spotlight on it as far as, spirits competitions, not tasting competitions, but judging and awards. And you see the double gold medals, the double silver, the triple gold, best in class, all this stuff, right? The whole dog and pony show, almost literally. And it's an honor for the spirits companies, of course, and it can be a big boon to business for certain companies. But for us as enthusiasts and consumers, it's nice to see if there's a brand you like win, but then you also get pissed off because it's either going to drive the price up or drive the bottles out because everyone's going to go pick them up tomorrow or this weekend or whatever it is. So, David Babcock, good evening from Oregon. Hello, welcome very much to the channel. Appreciate you being here. I just want to point out, we're gonna scroll down to the whiskey to focus on that, but I mean, I guess it almost doesn't matter. It's vodka, like just regular old vodka. And when you distill something, 10 times, what's it going to taste like? It's the whole point of vodka. Can I just point out, best in class vodka is absolute. Like, absolute. The thing that's on one of the biggest brands in the world, it feels so I don't want to say corporate. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm looking for. It's just like, really? That's the vodka everyone makes. That and Smirnoff. It's just such a big conglomerate, and they just pump this stuff out. I just think that's kind of funny. It won best in class, but maybe there's a reason people are buying millions of bottles of it around the world. But let's scroll down to whiskey. But you can look, cognac, piscos, they literally judge everything. In fact, really quick, before we just get into these kind of overview lists here, you can look at every entry and look at this spreadsheet. Have another drink. And I wasn't even all the way down when I started. You see this on the side. These are the pages. All the way. And this covers every spirit. It's an 83-page PDF with what? 15 deals on each page, all the way down to Zunte Mezcal. Start with 291 whiskey, and end with some mezcal. Oh my goodness. But anyway, we don't need to read through every freaking entry. But you can find, if you want to find out like what your favorite distiller, like how many entries did, Bardstown put in? How many entries did Jim Beam put in? And stuff like that. How many entries did Four Roses send in? Which I'm kind of curious because I don't think Four Roses gives a but. Let's see if they do. I feel like I never hear about, like, Four Roses is so good, but I feel like I never hear about, like, gold medal awards and everything. Oh my God, there's so many. All right, DE. So they don't have them by producer. So, like, Evan Williams is its own entry. Few. No. Four Roses. Four Roses doesn't even bother sending shit in. I love it. I love it. Vodka comes in two varieties. Barely drinkable and awful. Drez, that's why you remember this club. I'll take the Fred Minnick sentiment. Vodka sucks. Pendleton? Let's see. Let's see. HIJKLMNOPMO. Right. Peaky Blinder is a brand that I've never heard of. Penelope. No. Oh wait, no. Or at least they didn't send anything here. At least not to this year's competition or whatever. That's interesting. But anyway, let's get into the long and short of it. We've got gins, pre-mixed cocktails. Oh, those whiskey mules. I've seen those in the store. You guys, wow, I didn't think anybody would actually want to see Western Reserve. That's probably down near the bottom. Western, there you go. There you go, Scorp. Can you see it? I can zoom in if you can't see it. What they have their organic vodka, their premium vodka, their Blanco tequila, their Reposado tequila, 8-year bourbon, 14-year bourbon, and 4-year small batch blended bourbon. I've never heard of Western Reserve. That's interesting. So it looks like we want to focus on the bourbons. The 8-year won a silver medal. The 14-year won a silver medal. And the 4-year won a bronze medal. Or whatever, gold medal. Yeah, patch. I don't know what the hell you call these things. Little gimmicks on the side of the bottles. It's not really a medal because it's just a sticker, right? At the end of the day, you get a gold sticker. Your incredible award-winning vodka, gin, whiskey, whatever it is, gets the equivalent of what you got in middle school for spelling the word aardvark. Congratulations. You get a gold sticker. At least like in the Olympics, when they tell you get a gold medal, you're getting a gold medal that is there to hang around your neck. This, they tell you, oh, you won gold medal, and they send you a sticker to put on your bottles. That's all I'm saying. Oh no. All right, white spirits, dairy liqueurs, let's go. Tequilas, barrel-aged gins, best dark rum, Zaya. I've seen that at Binny's. That looks interesting to me. Holy crap, Stillhouse won something. The whiskey that is sold to you in a gas can. In a gas can. Won best corn whiskey. $20 gas can booze. Won gold medal at San Francisco. No, it's not moonshine, Daria Chick. It's not moonshine. It's corn whiskey. So it's a pretty basic thing. It's mostly whiskey. It's probably, mostly corn. It's probably aged in oak barrels. So that's what kind of usually signifies a corn whiskey by definition. But man, that's interesting. I just thought that was junk. Scorpion, did you guys drink it? Let me know if it was halfway decent. I'm actually very curious. All right, here we go. So some of you may have seen this. The best small batch bourbon, which small batch isn't like a real thing. Remember that. It's not a defined term. 6 to 10 years was the Parker's 10-year heavy char, which I have heard a lot of good things about. I've, of course, not seen it anywhere because, it's Parker's. And now that it won this, it's going to be even harder to find. Blah, 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 blah. So, good for them. Yeah, I'm with you, Scorpion. Unless it's in like the giant vat for a little bit, I don't want to buy anything in a damn gas can, in a metal can. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And yeah, as Victor is alluding to in the chat, best straight bourbon, any bourbon was the 1792 Bottle and Bond, which I think I have a single barrel. No. Thought I had a Bottle and Bond. I did at one point, but I guess I freaking drank it. So that one a gold and was named Best Straight Bourbon, which that's interesting. 1792's been killing it because didn't Foolproof win something else like maybe it was James Murray or something like that won Whiskey of the Year, like the 1790 Foolproof in general. Best small batch up to 5 years, or 5 years or less, was a private release. See, that's weird to me. A single barrel. Or I guess it's not a single barrel. Like the private releases, you can make your own batch. But that's it's a store pick, essentially. It's interesting that they would submit a particular private release. And it would win. Like that almost... I don't want to say it makes it, like, unfair, because it's like, oh, that's only going to be available through one store or one group, probably in one state, maybe even in one city. And that's your best small batch bourbon. I mean, if it's the best, it's the best, but still. A private release is the winner for best small batch bourbon, up to 5 years. But they pick what they pick. You know what I mean? So best small, now we're going to get here. I'm going to do a little reveal. The best small batch bourbon, 11 or older, which, no, this isn't going to rub people as wrong, I don't think, is the Blue Run. That's that $200 Tennessee, blend of Tennessee 14-year, I think it's like blend of like 13, 14-year Tennessee bourbon. Dickel. But as we've seen with a lot of releases, Dickel is very, the single barrels especially, I think are very polarizing. And they have that kind of medicinally and like that weird mineral note. And I get this kind of metallic-y cocoa note from them, which on their own, but you do see with some of these higher ages, when they're blended well, can be pretty good. And this one I've seen a lot of media about on Instagram and stuff like that. It's a pretty bottle. They've got all the fancy cases and everything. I've not had a chance to have it. If anybody in the chat has, give me your thoughts. I put it maybe unfairly right next to the Manning's Sweetens Cove, which is another $200 13-year Dickel blended by Marianne Eaves, and she knows what she's doing. But still, I keep just thinking, I'm like, it's 13-year Dickel blended, which the Bottle and Bond Dickel for $40 comes out and isn't impossible to find. And it's usually, I feel like, wouldn't it be the same thing? That's just me. Coming up next, the best single barrel bourbon up to 10 years. So this can be anywhere, this is a single barrel for, up to 10 years old. And look who it is. It's our good friend, Henry McKenna, single barrel, bottled in bond, 10-year. Of course, we don't know which barrel was sent in to win this. This has won Best Bourbon the last, a few of the last couple of years. And it also won Best Whiskey overall, I believe, last year. Or it might have been the year before. But here it is again in the Best Single Barrel Bourbon. And I'll give it, I have yet to have a bad Henry McKenna 10-year. Of course, you can't find him anymore. But everyone I had was good, if not great. I had a couple of that were just like, they were good. But I've had a couple that were like lights out, phenomenal. 100 proof, that's like the perfect proof. 10 years, age stated. Really good stuff. And when you could find it for $40, it was amazing. Too bad you can't do that anymore. And here, the best special finished bourbon. You guys heard me talk about it. The guys we're going to talk about tonight, Bardstown Bourbon Company, that Chateau de la Baude was so good. It is the best finished whiskey I believe I've ever had. Blended and, mingled so well. Proofed right. Armagnac Cognac Brandy, I think, is the best finish for bourbon. I think wine can be a little harsh. Or I think it doesn't mingle as well. There's a little bit more fighting going on. Because bourbon is packs such a punch. But with Armagnac being a full-on spirit and not like a little like wine or like a liqueur kind of thing, they mix together well. They both punch. You know what I mean? They both punch. Eric, you just got one at Kroger. Ooh, there you go. And I imagine Kroger is selling it at relatively retail. Probably $50, maybe $60. Correct me if I'm wrong. Which is pretty interesting. So Chateau de la Baude. And I have confirmed, there is a batch 2 in the works. I don't know when, where, or how. But Bardstown is coming up with another edition of this, and I cannot wait to try it. Still got a little bit left I'm nursing the crap out of what I have left. So I can't wait to compare. So Best Craft Distiller, ASW. I've heard very little about them. They do a single malt out of Arizona, and $45 apparently. $1 for every ABV percentage. And they got Best Craft Distiller, which is very interesting. I haven't had an American single malt in a long time. Might have to check them out if they are distributed here. I don't rightly know. Best Tennessee was Uncle Nearest, the 1820. That's no, I have 1856. 1820 is stronger. 1820. Oh, that's like their limited edition. Gotcha. So Uncle Nearest is making moves. I love what they're doing. They're also, I think, have a lot of schmickel product, but they blend it very well. I have the 100 proof 1856. It's pretty good. It's solid. It's a solid drinker. And I like what they're doing. I think they have a really good chance to be the next standout Tennessee powerhouse. Jack Daniels, George Dickel, and I think Uncle Nearest is going to come up. I think they are going to pass places like Nelson's Greenbrier and everything like that. I think they're kind of primed to do it. Best rye was the Boss Hog. Yes, the $500 whiskey, Whistle Pig whiskey, baby. Yes. Boss Hog number 7. I've never had any of these. Dave Pickerel is notorious for purposely pricing this at $500 with the idea to discourage bottle flippers. People who buy whiskey at, usually pretty fair retail prices and then drive it up because it's rare, by selling it for 2, 3, 4, 10 times that price on the secondary market. That pissed Dave Pickerel off so much, he said, screw it. And he was the consultant for Whistlebank and was like, we're going to sell this at $500. It's good. It's worth it. And screw the flippers. Best non-alcohol. Yeah. In a spirits competition, we're having non-alcoholic spirits. Interesting. An Italian spritz. Cool. Best Canadian whiskey is the Chronicles 43-year-old Canadian Club. $232 retail. Now, you can normally see well-aged Canadian whiskeys for much, much less. I know, like, who was it? Like, Crown Royal has a Noble Oak 16-year for like $60, which is pretty good. I've seen one, I think like a 33-year-old one for like maybe $80-$90 or $100. They, of course, can blend and add in certain things on like bourbon. But yeah, but best Canadian whiskey is a 43-year-old Canadian. So, yeah. Best other single malt is the Cavalan Soloist, which I have had. The Oloroso Sherry is really, really nice. Cavalan or Cavalan, I don't know how you pronounce it. Cavalan has really good single malt whiskey. They're from Taiwan. The one time I was in Taiwan, I really wanted to go there, but of course I didn't have time. We were there for like 24 hours. But their stuff is really good. And I do, over here it is. It's like $225. Usually you see it for like $250 more, because sometimes this stuff is really, really hard to find in certain sort of like they're limited editions. But I saw it in the damn duty-free shop in the airport in Taiwan. And I did it was in whatever, I forget what the currency is, but I did the calculation and it was like $100 American. And I was like, I don't know enough about it, and I passed. And I should have freaking got it. Best single grain was the Yama Mizurana Cast single grain whiskey from Bainbridge. Best other liqueur, you gotta love it. Best other whiskey was three ships whiskey, 5-year-old, from South Africa. It's just an other whiskey. Best blended whiskey, Highbank Whiskey War Barrel Proof. I'm unfamiliar with them, but that's a blended whiskey. Best pot still Irish whiskey is Middleton. Of course, it's one of their super limited editions, $3.75 retail. Screw that. Best flavored whiskey, S'mores Kentucky. S'mores Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey. They shouldn't be able to call it that. It should say flavored, am I right? They technically should not be able to call it S'mores Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey. On the label, I can't read the label from here, obviously. It should say, flavored Kentucky bourbon or something. Cheap as hell, but we have a s'mores flavored bourbon now. Plus, blended Irish, silky, single malt Irish, Waterford. Blue Run again gets the best single barrel, 11 years or older. So they're kicking that, old single barrel game. Best blended Scotch was Dewar's Caribbean Smooth Blend, up to 15. Best non-age stated blended Scotch is the Compass Box Glasgow Blend. 16 years or older blended is a Dewar's pick, another Dewar's pick. Best single malt, up to 12 years, is Lagavulin 8-year. Lagavulin, if you like the peaty stuff, is good. Best wheat whiskey is Bainbridge as well. And this, I believe, this was best distiller single malt. This won best whiskey overall. Was the Glen Scotia 25-year-old single malt. I'll pull it back to the top. Yeah, back to the top. Yeah, best in show, best whiskey was the Glen Scotia 25-year. Retail price. Oh. They have no idea. So there's some of our results from the good old Kentucky Spirit, the San Francisco Spirits competition. It's always interesting to see those results. But let's get to drinking some booze, shall we? First, we're going to try Prisoner Batch 2. So, for those that don't know, it's free! Yes! The best whiskey in the world! It's just free, right? So this, if you remember last time, the Prisoner was 9-year Tennessee bourbon, which we were just talked about, finished for 18 months in the Prisoner wine barrels. It doesn't say a particular type, it's just French oak red wine. Might have been a variety of wines they put in there. Red wine blend. It is bottled at 100 proof. So we're talking 10-year whiskey for another finish for another year and a half. Grand total, 11.5-year-old whiskey. But it's a good finish. These guys have shown me how good a long finish can be. I really don't trust short finishes generally. Like 2-3 months. We'll see if the uber long finish is any good. But this is an 18-month finish of Dickel bourbon in Prisoner wine casks. So great color, as always. Wine finishes I'm back and forth on, as I told you. But let's dive into this one. I enjoyed this one. It wasn't my favorite collaboration last year. But I did enjoy it. I think they did better ones. So on the nose, Flintstone vitamins, a little bit. Little metallic cocoa. Let's just say the Dickel trickles. It trickles in. It's a good old trickle of Dickel in here. For sure. 100 proof, alcohol's not punching me in the face too much. But it is sweeter. There is that red wine influence. I'm not really getting it's like sweeter and fruitier a little bit, but I believe the last one kind of gave me straight up punch of actual wine. And this one has it's a little more subtle. Maybe the older Tennessee bourbon is a little bit more powerful in this blend than it was in the last blend. And also, it's a different Wednesday. Maybe my palate is a little different today. It is the trickiest Dickel. We'll have to tell him that. Some sweet confectionery notes kind of thing. But a little extra dark cherry, grape. Let's see. There is a nice bitter drying note, almost reminiscent of wines, right? I know whiskey can have that on its own, but this has that dry wine finish at the end. Not a ton else other than that kind of a dry, bitter finish. It's not unpleasant. It's a nice balance of the initial taste of sweetness up front, and then it dries really, really bitter. Grapey, cherry, fruity, nice little hint of spice. This is a relatively fresh crack of this, so I get that. Darn, it sounds like a dessert whiskey. Could be yeah. Chocolate would probably pair with this well. I always notice that Bardstown uses Dickel stock, the Tennessee bourbons, for their wine collaboration. The Phifer Pavitt is Tennessee bourbon, and this is Tennessee bourbon. Most of the other collaborations, the brandy, the Armagnac, I believe the Goodwood beer, even the beer finish, are all MGP stock. So that's always interesting to note. Dark, I would not recommend this with fruit. I don't generally recommend fruit with whiskey. It's very different. The whiskey's very heavy, spicy. Um, you're generally, even though you have fruit notes, the prevailing flavors are generally like vanillas, caramels, like nougat. You're gonna want something to cut through that a little bit, and the citrus might be a little overkill of fruit. Anything even non totally citrus like strawberries or pineapple and everything like that. That's gonna be a little rough to go with especially a well aged bourbon. Chocolate is great. Like desserts are great. Occasionally, kind of fatty, salty things like deli meats and things like that can. I think that can go well too. That's not bad. I'm not a big Tennessee bourbon guy, as you know, but try it with a strawberry Pop Tart. There you go, Eric. By the way, Eric Smith, Whiskey Mutant, great purveyor of your everyday snacks and paired with bourbons. I did try the brown sugar cinnamon Pop Tarts with. I did it with Baker's, so I wanted to go with that more nutty, peanut, savory kind of counterbalance. So I took Baker's, and that worked really well too, actually. So that Jim Beam kind of note with the brown sugar and cinnamon. Good recommendation though. I think it could go well with a lot of bourbons. So really bitter finish. If you like that bitter fruit finish on wine, I think you'll like that. If you don't, if you need it kind of like sweet or spicy all the way through, might not be for you. If you absolutely hate Dickel, it might not be for you because it does come through. All right, moving on. Our mystery, not a mystery sample anymore. This is the Phifer Pavitt XO. This is currently available at the distillery in Bardstown Bourbon Company as a fill your own bottle activity, right? Beam has that with single barrels, I believe, of Knob Creek and everything. This is a kind of, you can go in, you can fill your own bottle of it. What makes this unique is this is the Phifer Pavitt, which is, I believe, 8 or 9 year Tennessee bourbon finished for 18 months in Phifer Pavitt Cabernet Sauvignon barrels, right? So this is that same exact setup, but instead of letting it sit for 18 months, they let it keep sitting and sitting 45 months at the time of bottling, for this sample at least. I don't know if they keep letting it rest as people fill their own bottles or what, but the one I was delivered had been resting 45 months. That's 3 3/4 years, just shy of 4 years as a finish, which is the longest finish for a bourbon that I've had. I had a corn whiskey from Bear Run that was finished for like an extra 2.5, almost 3 years. But for almost 4 years sitting in a wine barrel for bourbon, that is a long finish for bourbon. More than double their regular collaborative finish time. So I'm very curious to see if it's not over oaked, but like over finished, over wined, over graped. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, this one will definitely need a chair spin rating. Really quick, chair spin rating for the Prisoner. Bardstown Prisoner, batch 2. I'm going 1. That's 1. I gotta count better. 2. 2.5 chair spins out of 5. I think it's right in the middle. I think there's some nice things to it, but it doesn't wow me like a lot. And I only say that too, not to be like ultra critical of them, but they just do such good stuff. They've set their own bar very high. Thank you, Scorp. Yes, and as a member of this channel, you get those fun emotes, the chair emotes. You can predict how many I'm going to give it. You can give some things your own ratings, stuff like that. It's just a fun way to be part of the community. Yeah, I just know the bar that they've set for themselves, and it's very high. So I'm going to hold them to that. But this is the Phifer Pavitt XO 45-month finish. I mean, I know I always talk about color. It's always amber, but damn, look at that color. That is a like crimson amber blend. It's got some beautiful legs on it. I'll give it that. Slow. It's like molasses, baby. Molasses. It's like I'm sipping it in Savannah. I whipped it up a bit, but wow, that's interesting. To be fair, I don't know what proof this is bottled at. The most recent Phifer Pavitt, because they did a batch 2 of the Phifer Pavitt. It's weird. They said it's bottled at cask strength, but it's exactly 100 proof. So I don't know. I'm going to guess this is pretty close to that, though. 100 proof. This has some funk to it a little bit. Just a tiny, tiny bit. Okay. A lot of fruit. Black pepper. Like almost like tobacco leaf kind of thing. Little punchy. Maybe it's more than 100. It noses more than 100 proof. And again, I whipped it up a little bit, but it's been a little while here. It's a little ethanol-y. But the fruit flavors are really nice that are coming up. They're like not overly sweet. They're mature. Again, you can tell this has been sitting a long time in a sweet, second barrel. But the nose isn't overly complex. I think the taste is going to be very interesting. Nose is just like little punch of alcohol, some musty, peppery kind of notes, a lot of nice like dark fruit. Let's see what it tastes like. I'm very curious. Nice burst of peppery spice. Great mouthfeel to it too. Very chewable. If this is 100 proof, I'll slap myself again. I don't know. This might be cask strength because you do get to fill it right out of the barrel, I believe. Unless that's all gimmicked up too. I don't know. That is a strong punch of flavor. I mean, I know Phifer Pavitt uses Dickel too, but that has been hidden completely. if you just told me this was whiskey finished in a wine barrel, and you're like, hey, try to figure out just what whiskey it was finished, I definitely would not be guessing Tennessee bourbon. Interesting. You would think again after, again, and how old is 10-year-old Tennessee is the regular Phifer. So same thing, probably 10-year Tennessee bourbon finished for almost 4 years. It makes the Tennessee bourbon almost unrecognizable. Super, super dry. Less bitter than Prisoner, though. Patrick in the chat starting to predict some chair spins. It is a rush of flavor. It is bold. It is really fruity, but it dries real quick. Hits the roof of your mouth, and it's like it absorbs. Like rain hitting, hot asphalt, where it's just like immediately like just dries out and steams up almost. I wouldn't pair this with anything, honestly. This one 100% is still a dessert whiskey, if anything. You don't want this this is going to fight everything. Any main course, this will fight you with fish, chicken, beef, all that. I don't believe neat whiskey pairs with any main dish. That's me. That's my kind of bold stance. I don't believe almost any neat whiskey will work well with like a big steak or chicken platter or pasta or anything like that. I don't. Some people do. But I think those kind of courses are so layered in their own stuff that I think they just fight each other. That's why I like, for pairing things, desserts work well. Sugar, because it's simple. It's a sweet, right? Or baking goods. It's a high sugar content. Sugar will cut through that powerful alcohol. That's why wine pairings work really well. You know what I mean? Wine pairings, because wine is 7 to 9% ABV. Whiskey at a minimum is 40% alcohol. You know what I mean? 40%. Quadruple what wine is. And then whiskey and bourbon is usually higher than that. Usually more in the 90s, sometimes all the way up to barrel proof in the high 130s. So that's going to compete with everything. So you need something that's going to cut through that, not compete with it. Sugar things will cut through that. Chocolate, candies, sweets like snacks like cupcakes and stuff like that, desserts, right? And on the other side, savory, fatty things. That's why I say prosciutto, things that work well with wine too, like meat and cheese. You know what I mean? Meat and cheese, because it's pretty much heavy, heavy fat. And it kind of balances that strong spice, sweetness from the whiskey. You know what I mean? That's me. Those things I think pair well. A pasta or a fish and vegetables and everything. You can argue that, the salty in a sweeter whiskey will work, but I just think they're such bold things, they compete like a mother trucker. So, I'm glad you're learning something. And these are, to be fair, these are my opinions, but take them and explore them as you will. Gorilla Strong, I have not had Michael Collins, to be fair. I've seen it. I've not had it yet. Scorpion says it's great. I trust Scorpion's opinions on Irish whiskeys. So I will be curious to try it. I got to get my hands on a Redbreast 12-year cask strength, though. Oh my God. So before I grade this, I'm going to do another video on this next one properly. But I do want to see, we have a 45-month finish. I got this week, and I want to see something. 3-chord bourbon. They are doing some interesting things. They've released some really, really well-aged stock. They did a release called Whiskey Drummer. That was like 15-year Kentucky bourbon that they sourced. This one is interesting. And you know what? I'm going to pull, because I got an email about what the full deal is with this. So I just want to make sure. So this is called Strange Collaboration. You know what I mean? Strange collab, which I originally kind of got angry at because I'm like, wait, it's bourbon finished in Pinot barrels. That's not strange at all. I'm like, that's a pretty normal collaboration, pretty normal finish. But I'm going to read directly from the email from Ryan at 3 Chord Bourbon. He said, there was a young man named Johnny Strange. This is a true story. This isn't some tall tale. Who at the age of 17 became the youngest person to climb the highest peak on every continent. He was a skydiver, base jumper, free climber, and a thrill seeker. Right? There's a documentary about him and stuff apparently too. What made him special was that he used these stunts and publicity to raise money for various charities. He died at 23 years old in a wingsuit accident in Switzerland. Frick. But before he died, he was dating the daughter of the 3 Chord founder, Neil Giraldo. So Neil and Johnny had become close. And so Johnny kind of looked at him as a surrogate father kind of thing. So after Johnny died, Johnny Strange, Neil from 3 Chord and Johnny's father, Brian Strange, became close friends. Fast forward to 2020, Neil has a quickly growing bourbon brand, this. Brian Strange, the young man's father, owns Strange Wine Vineyards in Santa Rita, California. They decided to work together on a charity release in honor of Johnny, and so they made a very small batch of 3 Chord finished in their Pinot barrels, in the Strange Pinot barrels, right? And they liked it. Apparently, they and the staff and everybody liked it so much, they wanted it to be part of the lineup going forward. Everybody was in love with it. It's going to be a permanent part of their lineup, and a portion of the proceeds will go to Parkinson's disease research treatment, which Johnny advocated a lot. So it is. You know what? I know stories behind bottles are just stories, but it is fun to see that, especially when it is tied to a charity. So, that being said, great story, great cause. What made me a teeny bit nervous is because this fills exactly what I don't like on paper, what I don't like about finished bourbons. So this is a young, they gave me the full deal. I don't remember where the info. Oh, here we go. It is a 99 proof blend of 2 to 3 year Green River Distilling product. So there's some young product. And then 5 to 6 year old 1792 Barton product. So young-ish bourbon blend, and we don't know what ratios it is. 2 to 3 bourbon mixed with 5 to 6 year. And it's finished for 3 months in a Pinot barrel from the Strange family vineyard. 3 months is exactly what I don't like in finish. I've had several 3 month. Yeah, I've had even 6 month finishes where it's like there's just this like tinge of wine, and I'm like, it barely influences an aged bourbon. That's why I love the Bardstown finishes, because 18 months, I'm like, that's great. A year plus, I think is perfect. 18 months, I think, is really nice too. But like at least a year to get proper influence. 2-3 months in another barrel, it'll give you something, but not enough. So really quick, before I judge the 45-month Phifer Pavitt XO, I want to judge a 45-month finish versus a 3-month finish. And again, a full proper video review will go up on this channel shortly. But I literally just thought about this before I went live. So I've got my mini new riff. I just want to take a little taste of a 3-month finish, which I'm not a huge fan of. So 45, 3. And 10-year bourbon to start with. Blend of 2 to 3 and 5 to 6 year bourbon to start with. So much younger, much smaller finish. Older bourbon, crazy long finish. Youth, grain, corn. Nice vanilla and caramel on there, though, with some kind of fruity sweetness from, I imagine, the finish. 100% smells like young whiskey, though. Not bad. Like, not like, whoa, that is rough, but just like, yep, this is on that generally, 2 to 3 year blended with 5 to 6 year aggregate, call it 4-year whiskey. Smells like it. Smells like a sweet mash too, maybe, for some of it. I don't know. Bart uses sour. I don't know what Green River does. It's a pleasant youth note, though. Yeah. Hay, light corn. There's not a ton of fruit on here, though. I'm not getting wine on this at all. Smells like young whiskey with a hint of sweetness. Young bourbon. Strong. Little bit of youth bite there. A little bit. Strong pepper. Grain coming through. If you're like a grain forward whiskey, you'll enjoy this. Some people do. I'm not a super huge fan of it. Only limited circumstances where like a grain, like corn or rye forward, like young, like fresh out of the damn field. Some people like that kind of graininess. I don't. A few times I do. Little extra hint of sweetness. Not bad. It's really not bad. I'll get in more to it. Gorilla, there's a little spice on the nose. There's not much of a finish. It's young whiskey. Young whiskey, that's the hardest part it has with. It can be bold in the nose and strong in flavor, but finish really comes with age. The more time you have extracting character and stuff from that and flavor from that barrel, the longer it's going to last on your palate. I'll take one more sip. It's got a little bitterness to it, but it dissipates pretty quickly, which doesn't surprise me. Again, young bourbon, young whiskey will do that. Now moving back to the 45-month finish. Punch you. This one's got a baseball bat of spice up front. Tingles from mid front palate, rolls into the back of it. I enjoy that. You know what? It's still not my favorite release. I still love the Chateau de Laban. I think brandy and cognac, Armagnac, that stuff works the best for finishing bourbon. But this is very nice. I don't know what the retail price is at the distillery at Bardstown. I have a feeling it's going to be like their other, it's probably going to be $150. That's my guess. But for the whiskey you get, It's got that really bitter finish too, but it's much longer. It's lingering, trickling down my throat. That sounds inappropriate, but it's not, because we're talking about whiskey. You sicko. You sicko. How dare you? Ugh. You put those thoughts in your head. But it's nice. And it's bold. It's very bold. So, even if it's $160, $150 or something like that, for the product you get, which is very unique, an almost 4-year finish on a 10-year bourbon, just to be able to say that is nice. You get to fill it at the distillery. I don't know if they let you maybe monogram the bottle. You get to have a custom label like some places do. Maybe you get to do that. If you do, it's probably worth it. You know what I mean? If that were just sitting on the shelf at my liquor store, would I pay $120 to $150 for it? I feel bad. Probably not. It's a little maybe overly bitter. It is a, like I said, if you like bold, punch you in the face flavor, it's there. Chair spins. I'm going 1, 2, 3. It's 3.5 spin. Somebody said 4 earlier. Couldn't quite go full 4. You know what I mean? That's an 80%. This is like a 75%. Really good. Really interesting. There's stuff I like better. And again, a lot of this is only because Bardstown has set their bar really high, and they should. And they usually meet it. And this is like just below it. It's super unique and super interesting, though. Like, if you're thinking about getting it and can afford to get it or whatever it is, get it. It's one of the most unique gift shop offerings I've ever seen. A 45-month finish on a 10-year bourbon. That's crazy. Like, in theory, you should be able to charge $300 for that. So if it is in that $150 price range, and you can afford it, get it. If you can't, then don't worry about it. But it's such a unique premise. Even if the whiskey's not like perfect, just because it's old and finished long, right? It doesn't necessarily mean perfection. But it's such a unique thing. And kudos to them for taking this. They are taking some bold steps in whiskey. And I really appreciate that. And thank you to Bardstown Bourbon Company for providing that sample to us. Of course, disclaimer, not compensated, not pressured in any way. Just literally hand it and be like, let me know what you think. They didn't even ask me to post it or stream it or anything. I've developed a relationship with them that I really, really cherish. And they just wanted my honest opinion. They're like, I want to hear what you think. We like your opinions. Tell us what you think of this. So that's my honest opinion. It's not perfect, but it's really bold, really powerful, and it's such a unique thing. You know what I mean? Thank you, Scorp. Hashtag not a sponsor. Not a sponsored ad, right? Absolutely. Awesome. That was really good. All interesting whiskeys tonight. The strange collaboration. My early judgment, I'm not going to give a chair spin rating right now, would be it's grain forward, not a ton of the finish influence, but the price is right and you like a little bit of a grain forward whiskey and something it is a little different. It's not like a lot of things. It's relatively unique. If it is in that $50, $60 range and you're looking for something new to try, I'd say try it. I don't think you're going to be mad at it. And it might make a couple of interesting cocktails too. So that's my initial thought. Keep an eye out for the video coming soon. And if you're a member of the channel, at either level, you get early access to videos. Just saying. But guys, thank you so much. One more shill for the club. Join our barrel club. You get to potentially Jump in on barrel picks when we're able to do them. You get to ask questions to the straight shooting wrestlers who I will be interviewing. Sean Spears will be recording this Friday, coming out next Monday. And more awesome interviews come. Eric Young. I'm going to talk to Sammy Callahan. I'm reaching out to more people. This is going to be a fun series. So if you want to ask questions to some of these amazing competitors, join the club at any level. You get that opportunity. But if you join the Social Media Sippin', you could be on this show as part of our roundtable. You get shout outs on social media, follows on social media, stuff like that. So think about it. Let me know what you think. And there are some of our Social Media Sippin' patrons. Thank you guys so much for that extra support, that extra, little push in the right direction. I seriously appreciate it. But I also appreciate each and any person who's come out to this show. You guys, you'd light up chat. You make it fun. You ask great questions. You have great contributions. Eric, Scorpion, you guys are always in the chat, always causing things. Dresden's always in here. I appreciate anybody who's a member, but I appreciate anybody who's come out to watch a video, leave a comment, a like, have a chat in the chat. You guys are awesome. Always keep doing that. Always keep looking for new things to try. I'll try to help you. And always, always, always be wrestling with whiskey. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, take care.